We do have the person that gave that question to John Howard and threw the shoe. Peter Gray is on the line. Peter, good morning.
Good morning.
Well, Peter, let's get straight to it. Why did you find it necessary to throw these shoes?
Look, I threw that shoe to send a message to all the people throughout the Middle East and throughout the world who suffered as a result of Australia's involvement in the conflict in Iraq. John Howard needs to be held accountable for launching us into that illegal and immoral war that is widely agreed to have been a strategic failure, to have incited terrorism, and to have resulted in the deaths of, by the American military's count, over 60,000 civilians.
Peter, I think that's fair enough, but don't you think you've detracted away from your message by doing it? It's a bit of a stunt, isn't it?
Well, you'd like me to talk about the stunt. I'd rather talk about the war in Iraq and John Howard's culpability.
Yeah, but the point I'm trying to make is you had a good question at John Howard last night. John Howard didn't have a very good answer to it. In fact, I put it to you that you probably weren't even listening to it a great deal, and then you pulled that stunt. Don't you see that the stunt you pulled detracted away from the good question that you asked him?
Look, I certainly was his response, and it was not a satisfactory response at all. I think you'd find plenty of people would agree with me on that. Now, the thing is, John Howard just gets to brush off a question like that. He simply said, I defend launching our country into the war in Iraq, and that was that. He didn't say he defended how he justified it. He didn't really seek to make any argument that would justify the deaths of 60,000 civilians.
And look, I agree with you. I think his answer was appalling, but I think you also had a chance to come back at him with a couple of supplementary questions. Other people in the audience wanted to ask similar questions. You let him off the hook by doing what you did.
That's possible. However, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation right now if I hadn't thrown the shoes. Let's be honest about that.
So it's a publicity stunt.
No, I don't think it's right to call it a publicity stunt at all. It was something that I think we should see that John Howard is a war criminal. He should be brought before the international court and charged with war crimes.
Okay, so how premeditated was it, Peter?
Oh, look, I'd be lying if I said it hadn't passed my mind, to confront John Howard before I went to Q&A. But certainly, if he'd given me a satisfactory response and actually engaged with the question in a meaningful way, I don't think it would have been necessary.
Because we were told by Tony Jones that members of the audience had seen you take off your shoes well before you asked a question.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's probably plenty of people in there who took off their shoes too. You know, it's air conditioned, it's warm.
I wouldn't think so in the ABC studios. But Peter, look, I put it to you that unless John Howard had bowed down in front of you and said, "Yes, Peter, you're absolutely right. Please forgive me," that you would have thrown those shoes anyway.
Well, yeah, we're all entitled to our opinions, you know. Sure. Look, I don't regret what I did yet. The regrets I have for causing any distress to Tony Jones and the Q&A team, that's about as far as I could go.
What happens, Peter, though, if this had backfired and if you had actually hit the former Prime Minister and hurt him? That would have been so detrimental to your cause, not to mention, obviously, detrimental to the Prime Minister as well. And surely you didn't want to hurt him physically.
I certainly did not want to hurt him. I think that you could certainly see from the footage that I didn't try and hurt him. But, you know, if you want to talk hypotheticals, let's talk about the hypothetical situation of what if we hadn't invaded Iraq? What if those 60,000 people had still been alive today? What if that country had still been in one piece today? You know, we can talk hypotheticals till the sun goes down. Did
you try and hit the Prime Minister? Or did you deliberately miss?
Look, I wanted to throw my shoes at John Howard and deliver the insult that I delivered. I'm very pleased that I didn't hurt him. I never tried to hurt him. I certainly wanted to insult him, and I think I achieved that.
Now, Little Bird had told us that you came back in and asked security staff later if you could get your shoes back. Is that true?
I did not go back into the studio and ask for my shoes back. As I left the building, I said to one staff member that I would like my shoes back, so you can spin that however you like.
And what was his response? And you never got them back, I presume?
I didn't get my shoes back, no. I think that there's plenty of people out there who'd probably like to get their hands on that shoes. If they wanted to pay money for them, I'd ask them to donate to an Iraqi charity fund.
All right, Peter.
Peter, what did you tell security staff and the people vetting people going in beforehand?
I was not asked a question. They asked to see my bags. I showed them my bags. I'd rather talk about the conflict in Iraq and John Howard's culpability.
I'm just fascinated.
Situation.
But I'm just fascinated, Peter. There were Tony Jones tells 24,000 people applied to get into that audience last night, and you were the one of the lucky 60 or something like that. It seems incredible that you got in.
Well, I think that you might find there are plenty of people around Australia who perhaps they wouldn't throw their shoes and go as far as that, but there are plenty of people who would have loved to have got in that audience and given John Howard a good serve. I applied to join the audience the same way anybody else would. I just got on the website as soon as I found out John Howard was going to be there.
Peter, thanks very much for talking to us. That is Peter Gray, and I'm just glad he's on the phone and perhaps not sitting exactly right where you are right now, Nick McCallum.
Could cop it right between the eyes.
He was the protester who put the question to John Howard last night about Iraq on Q&A. Back with your call straight after this.